Alright, so I've got a few books here. Which book do you want to read, Orion? Do you want to read The Castaway? Okay, we'll read The Castaway. You're awful quiet. Hey guys, what's up? So, we're going to be reading The Castaway today. This is a book that I wrote by me, the author, Jamie Skeie. You ready for the story? You guys probably know Orion by now. This is Orion. Say hi, Orion. Oh, you're so shy right now, aren't you? All right, let's read this story, little baby. Just as Dad started a new sailing adventure, Mom was walking down the hallway to her youngest son's room. Mom knocked on her son's door and sweetly said, "Torin, it's time to wake up." Torin, hearing his mom's words, quickly jumped out of bed. He was so excited for today because his mom was taking him on a hike. They were going to spend the whole day hiking through the hills, seeking the strongest vortex in the magical desert area. There were giant red rocks all around. The huge stone cliffs were shining bright as the sun rose first thing in the morning. Mom already had pre-bought food from one of their favorite fancy restaurants in town. They also had lots of water packed up in their backpacks. Torin said, "I'm so excited, Mom. Let's go." Torin tumbled and tottered over to the kitchen. "What's for breakfast, Mom?" "I've got a surprise lunch packed from one of our favorite restaurants. No hot dogs on the fire for my son," Mom said. Mom went back to Slater's room and knocked on the door. She knew he was a teenager now and probably didn't want to go, but asked anyway. Mom squeaked, "Slaterbug, are you sure you don't want to go hiking with us?" "No," said Slater abruptly in his new deep voice. Slater was a little irritated with his brother and Mom at the moment. They didn't believe him when he told them about camping with Dad. They just laughed when he mentioned eating beans with the Purple Purse Merman. He knew what he had seen. Dad did too. Slater even had told his sister, Jalissa. She believed him because she even saw the pink dolphin with Dad when they were sailing. Deep down inside, Torin did really believe his brother. After all, his brother was older than him, and he had always looked after him. He was the kind of brother who didn't always express his love nicely, but always had your back against all odds and opposition. Torin also heard his sister tell the tale of the pink dolphin and Orion the Star. Every time Torin was outside on his scooter, he would take a moment to look into the magical night sky. He would always seek Orion's belt and wonder if the stars were real. Then he would do one of his favorite tricks at the magical hour, as if he was showing off to the stars. Mom looked at her son as he was daydreaming and eating cherry Pop-Tart treat on the living room sofa. Mom said, "Time to start our day, Torin." Torin, looking sleepy, quickly jumped up and put on his backpack. "Think we will find the super vortex today, Mom?" Torin exclaimed with excitement. After all, he and his mom had experienced some vortexes in the area. The manzanita trees were twisted and turned from the force of the vortexes. Hawks flew above the vortexes in circles as if there was a super wind tunnel keeping them entranced in flight. The feeling they got walking into these heaven-like wind tunnels were something that could not be described, only felt. The super vortex was known by locals to be the center vortex that goes directly from one universe to another in the same time and place. It was a local folk tale that a superstar parrot flies from the night sky and goes through the super vortex, which is the portal to another time and place, similar to that of our dreams. In this vortex, your thoughts and dreams become your reality. It was believed by some that the superhero was merely a myth. Others believed the superstars were real. Meanwhile, Dad was in his sailboat on the ocean, sailing by the Paradise Cove. He had his best mate with him, too. He sailed past this point at least once a month, since his adventures with his son and daughter. Dad's girlfriend was home with the dogs and kids. They sometimes sailed along, looking for pink dolphins and the purple merman with the purple purse, but they were busy planning a birthday party. Dad and Orion still wanted to sail by. At the same time and day, he and his children encountered these gentle, mythical superstar creatures. Dad saw the pink dolphin with Jalissa and the purple purse merman with Slater. Dad knew the stars were real, and he even had a parrot and 2 dogs to prove it. When Dad encountered the pink dolphin with Jalissa, an African gray parrot mysteriously flew and landed on his shoulder. They have been best mates since that very moment. He named her Orion, after the constellation and superstar flying parrot Orion the Star. Torin and Mom adventured into the red canyons and woods. Torin even had a rescue rope just in case they needed it. He'd always wanted to save someone. He always liked to climb up some steep cliffs to scare his mom a little and keep her on her toes. "Mom, you ready to do some rock climbing?" Torin blurted out as they navigated through the forest. Mom gave her son a look and said, "Let's stick to the trail." 1 hour later, they started getting hungry. Torin spied the perfect picnic spot and said, "That looks like a dope place to have lunch." They looked up at a small cliff and saw a stone that resembled a perfectly shaped picnic table. It was almost as if the rock had been carved for them to eat lunch. The only thing was, you really needed a rope to get up there. Torin said, with a puppy dog face, "Please, Mom, it looks awesome up there. We can make it." It was an easy climb for these two. Mom just always liked using precaution because her sons were her whole life. Torin didn't think his mom would go for this one, but she did. "Sure, we can do it. Let's go," Mom said in a positive mood. Just beyond the stone-looking picnic table, 3 stars shone in the sky. It was around noon, so it was odd these 3 stars were still shining. Torin climbed to the top like a pro rock climber. He quickly attached his rope to the stone table and threw the rope to his mom. She climbed up almost as fast as Torin. Torin was kind of impressed at his mom's spontaneous actions. They sat down and started pulling the food out of their backpacks. It was as if you pulled out a bone, and 2 dogs came running when the food came out. Canis Major and Canis Minor had the best noses in the sky, and their noses started smelling something better than the usual rabbit. They smelled the best food from their favorite restaurant on Earth. The stars around Orion's belt started to shine. The mythical parrot smiled and said, "I have an adventure ahead for this family." "All right, Major, Minor, go get a bite." Suddenly, the magical vortex started to appear. Directly from Orion's belt, these superstar creatures started flying in circles through an unseeable dimension. "Wow, Mom, look at that tree! It's twisted in circles!" Torin shouted with curiosity. Mom and Torin saw the tree a few minutes ago and they knew it wasn't twisted. But the food smelled so good they kept pulling it out. They didn't realize they were sitting right in the middle of the super vortex. The stars in the sky just happened to smell something at the one moment Canis Major and Canis Minor couldn't deny their presence was needed. In a New York minute, these dogs flew through the vortex and landed directly on the seats around the stone picnic table. Mom and Torin looked at each other in fear and excitement, wondering where these cute dogs came from. Torin, concerned, said, "Mom, where did these dogs come from?" "What dogs?" Mom said, slightly curious. Torin quickly stood up and suddenly turned around and started walking into the cave behind him. Except it wasn't an ordinary cave. Inside the inner depths of this cave, There was an intense feeling that makes the hair on your body stand straight up, and there's a circling energy that pulls you into a portal. Torin looked into the sky and saw Orion's belt twinkle as if it were winking at him. Did he just find a way to always be with his dad? Torin looked down and he saw he was wearing Castaway clothes. Just a moment ago, as if time and space frozen, Torin had gone through a portal at the stone picnic table at the same time his dad had been sailing through one. Dad and Torin had both crashed into a magical island at the same time. Two castaways living off the land, just as they used to when Torin was just 7 years old, playing countless hours of playing MC together. Here they were, crafting, making potions, building a treehouse, and living off the land, together in real life. It was as if time in Torin and Dad's real life had frozen. Torin and Dad entered a portal at the exact time, and it brought them together. As Dad's sailboat crashed into a magical island, Torin landed on the same island. Dad was laying in the sand by his boat. Orion was on the sand next to him, giving him a gentle kiss. Give me a kiss. As she flapped her wings to fan him and wake him up. Torin had just bounced through a portal by the stone picnic table that dropped him right by his dad and parrot. Torin couldn't believe his eyes. Was he really on an island with his dad and parrot? He looked down and saw his tattered clothes. He felt his face. He had a beard. His hair was long. Not knowing what to think, he ran to his family. "Dad! Orion!" Torin shouted as he ran in the sand towards them. Dad felt Orion's wings flapping him and heard his son's voice. Could it be? Dad thought to himself. Dad jumped up as Torin jumped into his arms. Then Orion flew to Torin's shoulder. The three talked about what had happened, but mostly they were just excited to be together again. Torin was so excited and said, "Dad, you want to make a bunk bed hammock? We can use the rope from the sail to make it." "Yes, son. That sounds awesome. Let's make it right now. Those two palm trees are perfect for a palm tree bunk bed hammock," Dad replied. Torin and Dad started making the hammock out of rope from the shipwrecked sailboat that had smashed into the stone rock. The stone rock was shaped just like the picnic table where Torin and Mom were having a picnic. Dad and Torin just didn't know it yet, because the sand had covered most of the stone table. The two were so happy, living on their own deserted island. It wasn't long until they had taken most of the ship apart and turned it into a treehouse. They had a treehouse, a bunk bed, hammock, fresh water, fresh food, and a small sailboat to catch fish. They even made friends with the local mermaids, the Purple Purse Merman, Canis Major, Canis Minor, and even Orion the Star. They had created a real life over the years of mining and crafting on the island. Come here, Ryan. Step up. Hey, come over here for a little bit. Step up. That's a good girl. Come over here and look at the story. You can start reading if you want. I know you know how to read. The two were so happy living on their own deserted island. It wasn't long until they had taken most of the ship apart and turned it into a treehouse. They had a treehouse, a bunk bed, hammock, fresh water, fresh food, and a small sailboat to catch fish. They even made friends with the local mermaids, the Purple Purse Merman, Canis Major, and Canis Minor, and even Orion the Star. They had created a real life over the years of mining and crafting on the island. The only thing that was missing was the rest of their family. They knew in their hearts they would all be together again. For the moment or years they had on the island, they bonded and held close to every adventure. Every morning they would wake up in their treehouse together. They slept in single handcrafted beds that sat side by side, just like beds in one of their favorite video games. They even crafted chests to put at the end of their beds. Inside these chests, they kept their most prized possessions. Torin and Dad would wake up and look out into the ocean. Then they would jump from the towering treehouse that looked like a skyscraper cowering into the sky above the ocean. They would jump with ease and land in the deepest part by the shore. This was the way to start the perfect daily routine. After a short swim, they would hunt, build, craft, and mine for treasures. As the sun rose, Torin and Dad was on their morning swim, and Torin caught his eyes on something shiny. Little did you know, it wasn't just one gold coin. It was an entire treasure chest full of shiny golden coins. It must have been worth millions. The two looked at each other, knowing they struck gold. They collected their findings and put them in their chests by their beds. Torin convinced Dad that they would also find diamonds. Torin had a few ideas for inventions he wanted to craft. Everything on the island was perfect. They were with other parrots flying all over, so Orion was having fun flying all around with them. The land was covered in palm trees, flowers, yucca, green grass, fruit, and plenty of meat to hunt. There were mountains and cliffs all around, too. Their treehouse was made in the tallest tree on the island. With all the beauty surrounding them, there was a mysterious feeling they had sometimes as if someone was watching them. They were right. Mr. Stalker, also known as Dr. Stalker, had been watching them. He isn't actually a doctor, but got the nickname from all the tales told about his stalking ways. Dr. Stalker has an evil plan to destroy every creature in their universe. Torin and Dad were the heroes who needed to save the day. They were the only ones who could help the superhero stars reunite and save the universes. Dr. Stalker was building a hidden treehouse only a few trees away from their tree fort. They had no idea. The evil scientist wanted to be as close as possible to Dad and Torin. They were the first humans he had seen to actually be able to use the portal. He wanted to experiment on them and then blow up their world. Orion and two trusty sidekicks were not going to let this happen. The superheroes were going to keep an eye on the evil scientist Dr. Stalker. Dr. Stalker had a potion cultivated from the island that allowed him to turn himself into different people. He had a lot of tricks, but for some reason, he could not turn into Dad or Torin. Dad and Torin looked like a couple of castaways. Their clothes were torn and ripped from traveling through a portal to another dimension, and from living on the island. Torin even grew long hair and a beard. Dad did too. Together, they went out on their handmade miniature sailboat to go spearfishing. Torin decided to craft a bow and fishing arrows. He attached a rope from the sails to the handcrafted arrows. Today he would test out his new invention. Torin saw a huge swordfish. It must have weighed over 1,000 pounds and been over 10 feet long. Torin knew it would be the perfect fish to feed them for months. They could even use the sword from the fish as a tool. Torin made a perfect shot, and suddenly an African gray parrot swooped down from the sky. It wasn't a normal-sized parrot. It was a super-sized parrot from another universe. It was Orion the Star. Orion flew directly from Orion's belt and grabbed the arrow with one talon and landed by Torin and Dad. Orion said, "Nice bow and arrow, Torin. Swordy the fish is a friend of mine. You can hunt any other swordfish but him." Orion said this in a sarcastic tone that had Torin and Dad bewildered. They didn't know what to think. Another swordfish nearby looked back at Orion and didn't know what to think either. Dad had met Orion the Star a couple of times, but one can never be prepared to see a supersized parrot superstar talking to you. Dad thought of something to say. This is my son, Torin. How are you, Canis Major and Canis Minor? Dad making casual talk, trying to impress his youngest son that his superstar friends were real. The tales Torin's siblings and Dad told him were real. They weren't just folk tales about mermaids, mermen, and pink dolphins. Dad quickly ran to Orion and gave this huge parrot a big bear hug. Orion gently put that huge beak down, low to the ground, and let its feathers relax for Dad to pet. As Dad gently pets this huge superstar, Torin stood with his mouth wide open in bewilderment. Orion the Star said, "Nice to meet you, Torin. Your dad loves you. He is always talking to the stars, hoping you'll hear. Major and Minor have been doing good. Come here, boys." A tear came from Dad's eyes as Orion told Torin his thoughts. Just like that, these two dogs came skidding through the sandy beach shore towards the entourage. Torin couldn't believe what he was seeing, but he could believe it at the same time. He knew those myths about mythology and the stars weren't tales. They were real. Canis Major suddenly streamed down from his constellation and landed not so smoothly, tongue out like Jordan, with his red basketball in his paws. Then, from two solo stars to the left of Orion's belt, above Canis Major, Canis Minor came flying down from the sky. Minor made a smooth landing right on the beach, gently pushing his red magical sunglasses up as he came to a halt. Canis Minor stood boldly on his back paws to make an important announcement. "Coconut basketball will begin when the clock strikes midnight." Just what Torin always wanted, a midnight game of basketball with his dad and some superstars. Minor said, "I'll be the referee. Let's craft a court." As fast as a page turns in a book, an awesome tropical basketball court was made. At the edge of the court was Dr. Stalker's hideout. He laughed and chuckled quietly out loud. Minor raised his sunglasses and Major lifted an ear and stuck his tongue out. Orion put a wing around Torin and another wing around Dad. The evil scientist quickly jumped into his tree tunnel slide and went into the depths below, so he would not be heard laughing about his treacherous scandal. He had all kinds of jars bubbling in his wicked and underground secret laboratory. In the right hands, this laboratory could cure everything. But in the wrong hands, worlds could be trolled and demolished. Everyone shrugged off the evil laughs they heard, and they started playing basketball with the bouncing coconut. Orion said to everyone, "Let's play 3-on-3. There were only 5 of them. Suddenly, a huge fart let out and the Purple Purse Merman emerged from the water. Torin couldn't believe it. Slater really did see a purple merman with a purple purse, and he was about to play basketball with him. A pink dolphin jumped 20 feet into the sky and gently landed into the water. Then a school of mermaids and mermen jumped gently out of the ocean and into the sky as they did a cheer. During their game, Canis Major suddenly stopped and threw the coconut towards a tree. Canis Major said, "Let's play with my magical basketball instead." He threw the ball. Torin caught it and threw the ball all the way into the sky. It went so far up, it looked like it went into outer space or into another dimension. The ball went straight up and suddenly came crashing down. It almost landed. Oh, you should read the story. You're a good reader. I hear you trying to read right there. You should read it. You're a good reader, Orion. All right, I'm going to keep reading, okay? It almost landed on them, but hit a tree instead. All the coconuts in the tree went crashing down. One coconut mysteriously crashed into Dr. Stalker's laboratory and suddenly it had exploded. It was so loud, it sounded like a fart. The Purple Purse Merman said, "Excuse me." They all laughed, not knowing they had just saved the world from Dr. Stalker's evil plans. Before the explosion, the evil scientist morphed into a cockroach and snuck away. The crew had no idea the world was safe again, for now at least. Orion the Star said to everyone, "Next point wins." Also, anytime you guys want to meet up, just go to the stone picnic table and look at my belt. Orion passed the ball and Torin made a perfect shot, winning the game. Orion swiftly said, "We will all meet up anytime you guys want. Time to get back to RL for now. Your treehouse in Tiki Island will always be here." Suddenly Torin was on Orion the Star's wings with Dad, and Orion on Dad's shoulder as they started flying through a portal together. It was a super vortex. They were almost through when Dad said, "See you soon, son. I love you." Torin said, "I love you too, Dad." "I love you, Orion." "Nice to meet you, Orion the Star." Torin suddenly emerged next to his mom. Dad landed on his sailboat with Orion. They were in their castaway clothes, looking like they had been living on a deserted island for years. Orion looked at Dad and said, "Well, that was an awesome adventure. You don't have to feel like the castaway anymore." Dad laughed at his talking parrot, and they sailed home to have dinner with his parrot, children, girlfriend, and dogs. Torin was concerned about what his mom would say. He had been gone for years, and he had lived a life with his dad. His hair was long, and his clothes looked like he had been a castaway on a deserted island. He even had a beard. He had to play it off to his mom like he was playing a joke. "Look at me, Mom, I have a beard, I have these castaway clothes with Dad on this deserted island for years," Torin said, joking around, but totally serious. Mom laughed at Torin's joke about being on a deserted island with his dad. She really thought his beard was fake. After all, boys don't grow beards. The father and son continued to go on awesome adventures to their own little deserted island, two castaways found, living together off the land. What did you think, Orion? Did you like the story? All right, guys. All right, that was The Castaway, written by me, the author, Jamie Skeie. Check out the book at amazon.com/author/Jamie Skeie. I'm just going to read the ending one more time. "Look at me, Mom. I have a beard. I've been a castaway with Dad on a deserted island for years," Torin said, joking around but totally serious. Mom laughed at Torin's joke about being on a deserted island with his dad. She really thought his beard was fake. After all, boys don't grow beards. The father and son continued to go on awesome adventures to their own little deserted island, two castaways found, living together off the land. All right. I'll read the dedication real quick too while I'm at it. "This book is dedicated to my youngest son. He opened me up to believe in a world outside of RL, and we called it MC. I hope to create MC in RL again one day soon. I love you." This book is dedicated to my youngest son. You opened me up to believe in a world outside of RL, and we called it MC. I hope to create MC and RL again one day soon. I love you, son. Every morning they would wake up in their treehouse together. They slept in a single handcrafted beds that they sat side by side, just like beds in one of their favorite video games. Gosh, it's a tough read. All these memories of playing Minecraft. Okay, here we go. Try this again. I swear I don't cry this much usually. Hey, Ryan, come back over here. Ryan. You gotta listen to this story. I'll quit crying, I swear. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Torin looked into the sky and saw Orion's belt twinkle as if it were winking at him. Did he just find a way to always be with his dad? Torin looked down and he saw he was wearing Castaway clothes. Just a moment ago, as if time and space frozen, Torin had gone through a portal at the stone picnic table. At that exact same time, as bad. Okay, hold on. A little emotional. Hold on. Wipe the tear away a little bit. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Can you grab me a tissue real quick? Or should I just go with the tears? Might be good in the story, right? Torin looked into the sky and saw Orion's belt twinkle as if it were winking at him. Did he just find a way to always be with his dad? Torin looked down and he saw he was wearing Castaway clothes. Just a moment ago, as if time and space frozen. Torin had gone through a portal at the stone picnic table at the same time as Dad had been sailing through one. A little emotional. Hold on. Alright, we'll try this one again real quick. Thanks for bearing with me for a second. Okay, I got this. Sorry, guys. If you're a parent, you know how it feels. Alright, here we go, guys. Do another take right here. Torin looked into the sky and saw Orion's belt twinkle as if it were winking at him. Did he just find a way to always be with his dad? Torin looked down and saw he was wearing Castaway clothes. Just a moment ago, as if time and space frozen, Torin had gone through a portal at the stone picnic table at the same time as Dad had been sailing through one. "Dad? Orion?" Torin shouted as he ran toward the sand towards them. Dad felt Orion's wings flapping him, and he heard his son's voice. Could it be? Dad thought to himself. Dad jumped up as Torin jumped into his arms. Then Orion flew to Torin's shoulder. The three talked about what had happened. But mostly, they were just excited to be together again. Torin was so excited, and he said, "Dad, you want to make a bunk bed and hit mock?" Alright, hold on, what the fuck? Alright. Shit. It's hard when you've always wanted to be a dad, physically, in your kid's life. And life just doesn't let you be there for a while. But you just gotta never give up. Never give up, no matter what. Alright. Try this a little bit again here. You guys aren't going to see this. This will be at the editing room floor, so you don't gotta worry about that. Hey, Ryan, baby. Alright. Better back it up a page. Alright, we'll go back a couple pages. Alright. Hey, Torin and Slater was just here last weekend. Just talked to my daughters, so no reason to be crying now. Alright, so let's see, there's a circling, we'll go back a little bit. Inside the inner depths of the cave, there was an intense feeling that makes the hair on your body stand up and makes you bawl like a baby. And then there's this circling energy that pulls you into the portal. Alright, here we go.